Well, I was gonna say Lisa, but okay. Maggie too. Alright, Trent the cool kid. Good to see you again, bud. Wait, what's that purple thing next to? Trent the cool kid. 25 XP. Community leaderboard. Huh, what's that? Yeah, who knows? Okay, so I'm building this Nicetech webcam tripping video calling. Basically, it's a tripod webcam, and I'm about to get started now. Without any further ado, let's get started. Let's see. I got a crown because I'm king. Ah, yes you are, Trent the cool kid. Yes you are. We can lower it a little bit. Okay, now, let's see. Let's see. Scan the QR code to register your warranty. Nice. Great partner for your life by Nicetech. User manual, yada yada. Oh, manual. Okay, so easily height adjustable. One button automatically opens the phone holder. There's a phone holder. Phone. One press to lock the phone holder. Yada yada. No. Yada. Cool. How to install? Okay, let's see. Let's see. Bam. Oh, wait, before I forget. Gotta start playing my... Where's my phone? Oh, here it is. Okay.
Discussion in Thursday's class. Beck has advised that Beck is already...
Okay, I'm going to be watching this YouTube video, You from Beck's Perspective, by Scenic Kizzle. No idea what kind of name that is. But yeah, now let's get started.
...with the bookstore manager, but Beck says that it was just some random guy from Tinder, Professor Maud, and first encounters Blythe, who claims that they meet for workshop on Tuesdays and Thursdays. She says it's the same old story of thinking that you're right for somebody and realizing that you're not. She heads inside her apartment and checks again on Benji's tweets, finding that he's hooking up with randos while he's still not responding to her texts, so she finally gets mad enough to tell him off and declares that Benji is dead to her. In the morning, Beck heads to class early to formally meet Professor Maud and first encounters Blythe, who claims that they meet for workshop on Tuesdays and Thursdays. She challenges Beck to bring her A game, noting that Professor Maud is a tougher critic than Leahy. Beck compliments Blythe on one of her essays, saying that it was so illuminating that she tweeted it, and Blythe comments on social media being the next great genocide. Bold take, Blythe. After class, Beck meets up with her friends, telling Peach all about Blythe, and over here...
Now, let's see. Let's see. Okay.
Hearing Lynn and Annika discussing a dick pic that she got. On the topic, Beck mentions the guy that she was hooking up with the prior night, and
Where the
Peach
heck
is
is
surprised
that
that Beck is
spoon?
already sleeping with the bookstore manager, but Beck says that it was just some random guy from Tinder because Joe is still a baby. Peach pulls her aside to ask if Beck is being her best self right now, but Beck assures her that she's just exercising Benji from her system and exploring her options, which includes the bartender, who she invites back to her apartment for another down and dirty hookup. So down that they break her bed frame and it falls to the floor. In her next class with Professor Maud, Blythe remarks that her biggest fear in her writing is being unremarkable, making a point to look right at Beck. Professor Maud wraps up class announcing to Blythe and Beck the sentences of writing to their classmates to review for discussion in Thursday's class. Beck heads home and tries to write, but struggles with her bed held up by books, and before she can, move to the couch or the table, she gets a text from Joe inviting her on a shopping trip because he needs a new side table, and how crazy is that? It's like he read her mind. They head to the store and Beck tries out a few beds, not sure if she should get a queen or a king size, and Joe jokes that no bedroom in New York is big enough to fit a king size bed. Beck's phone goes off, reminding her that she hasn't even started her writing for class when she's king size, and Joe jokes that no bedroom in New York is big enough to fit a king size bed. Beck's phone goes off, reminding her that she hasn't even started her writing for class when she receives Blythe's writing submission, which is so good that it just makes her feel even worse. She lays back on the bed and asks Joe if he thinks that she's unremarkable, and he brushes the hair out of her face as he tells her that unremarkable people don't worry about being unremarkable. And that works for Beck because they start making out and he almost goes down on her in the middle of the store, but she snaps back to reality when she hears people nearby and rushes off. Back at the car, Joe gets a call about an issue at the bookstore, so he drops off Beck at home. She tries to assemble the bed frame on her own, but realizes that it's a good excuse to invite Joe back to help her put it together. They have a drink to celebrate the new bed, and Beck apologizes for being uptight in the room. She tries to assemble the bed frame on her own, but realizes that it's a good excuse to invite Joe back to help her put it together. They have a drink to celebrate the new bed, and Beck apologizes for being uptight in the furniture store, saying that she does like him, but she was just in her head after reading Blythe's story. And Joe encourages her to get out of her head and forgive Blythe, forget everybody, and just write what she wants. He asks her what hits the hardest, and Beck opens up about her dad's addiction affecting her as a kid. Feeling vulnerable, she takes a sip of her drink and Joe sarcastically remarks that she has nothing meaningful to write about. They lean in for a kiss, and just as they're about to christen the new bed, there's a knock at the door. Beck jumps up to get it, and it's Peach having tummy trouble, conveniently flaring up right after Beck told her that Joe was coming over. Peach needs Beck to accompany her to the emergency room, and Beck asks Joe to drive them, but they get stuck in traffic and his car totally stinks, so they don't make it very far before Peach insists that they get out and walk. At the hospital, Peach is treated and she thanks Beck for coming with her. Beck assures Peach that she can always count on her, and then she asks Peach what she thinks of Joe, but Peach is not impressed, giving a weak, "Yeah, I like him." Beck says that she might really like him, considering that she could be ready for a serious relationship with Joe, a normal, decent guy who shows up and comes through, unlike Benji who fucked around and fucked off. Peach isn't so fond of the idea since working at a bookstore comes with financial limitations, and she believes that Beck needs somebody who can take care of her so she can be happy and free to spend her time writing. Beck pushes back that Peach isn't being fair, but Peach claims that she's calling it how she sees it and invites Beck out to eat, but Beck has to get home and heads off, leaving Peach behind. She calls Joe to invite him back again to pick up where they left off, and he asks about Peach, who's fine now, but he points out that Beck complains about not being able to write and then runs off when Peach beckons with her fake medical condition. She asks him about coming over, and he says that he can't, and even though she apologized for the bad timing of Peach interrupting them, he tells her that she's sending mixed messages and he has no idea what she wants, and he hangs up on her. She's taken aback, but realizes that he's right, and she doesn't know what she wants, so she starts rejecting his calls for the rest of the night while she tries to sort it out. Arriving late to class the next day, Beck has her pages in hand, but it would be too awkward to read and discuss on short notice, so they reschedule her review. She heads to the bookstore after class, rehearsing what she wants to say before spotting Joe. Beck admits that she would do anything for her friends, even if sometimes she does hide behind them, but she didn't need Peach to show up as an excuse not to write, because she would find any excuse not to write, because she feels like she could just be one page away from confirming that she's a terrible writer. She admits that if she's sending mixed messages, it's because she doesn't know who she is, so she couldn't really know what she wants. But on the flip side, she also calls out Joe for not sharing about himself either. On one hand, he's a nice guy who's all romantic, but then he tries to go down on her in public, which makes her feel like he's hiding something. Beck remarks that she's never even been to his apartment or met any of his friends and basically has no clue who he is. To show her exactly who he is, Joe leads Beck to the basement of the bookstore where there's like a cage for the books. He explains that the cage protects the rarest books that the store owns, which are vulnerable and sensitive to light and temperature and humidity. He offers to take Beck to his apartment anytime that he wants and says that he wants her to meet his friends, but this place is the most important to him because these books are more worthy than most people. Joe says that she wants to know who he is, then this is it, and Beck takes his hand thinking that it's nice to meet real Joe. She leaves and visits Peach's house where she officially deletes her Tinder account. Peach congratulates her and accepts that maybe a simple life with Joe is the right one for Beck, as she notices a book missing from her shelf, noting that it's the book that Joe was looking at her party. When Beck returns home that night, she calls Joe to invite him over, and they finally break in the new bed for all of 8 seconds. Joe rolls over and they lay in silence for a minute before Beck gets a text and heads to the bathroom to check it. It's her dad, the captain, texting to confirm their plans this weekend to meet at the Dickens Festival that she forgot she agreed to, but she can't cancel since he sent her money for her bed and her phone bill, and then another $500 to get an outfit. Outside, Joe says that he's running to the store and leaves while Beck texts her dad back from the bathroom. The next morning, morning, she texts her friends about their failed hookup as she's packing her new outfit. Lynn and Annika shoot back clips and gifts before finally asking if he's worth it, prompting Beck to consider the question and decide to give it one more shot. She heads to Peach's to borrow a pair of boots. As Peach is searching her closet, she urges Beck to ghost Joe already and move on, and she brings up her lost book again, with Beck jumping to Joe's defense, but Peach retorts, "Who said anything about Joe?" She tries to bring Beck along to a weekend getaway, but Beck says that she has a writer's retreat in Rockland, so Peach yields and encourages her to believe in herself and her writing, which just makes Beck feel worse about lying to her. Come the weekend, Beck meets her dad at a motel where she gets ready for the festival while he invites her to a vacation for Christmas, but Beck can't commit or doesn't really want to. Her father is noticeably disappointed and visibly surprised by her outfit, which was absolutely her intention. At the festival, the captain asks about Beck's mom and her brother Clyde, and then he asks about school before ignoring her answer to pick up a call from Nancy, which leaves Beck feeling like she might as well shut up forever. When they find Nancy, she ties a hat onto Beck's head, then grabs her dress, warning that she's slipping a bit, but Beck bites her tongue and thanks her for the ugly hat. The captain and Nancy walk off, and Beck wanders the festival until she's left chatting with her father's stepdaughter, who breaks the news that he's about to cut Beck off financially in preparation for the baby that he's having with Nancy. Upset that her father is starting a new family instead of fixing the one that he left, Beck stops at the bar for a drink. She texts Peach, who tells her to get back to writing before calling her to accuse Beck of being with Joe after finding out from Ethan that he was out of town to the same place. Beck tells Peach that she's not lying, but she can't deal with this right now, hanging up on her when she thinks that she sees Joe, but it's just some guy, until she keeps walking and she does see Joe. He says that he comes here every year, which would make sense for a bookseller to come to a book festival, except then he admits that he's lying and he came to the festival because he wasn't happy with how they left things. Joe explains that he guessed she'd be here when he googled a nearby restaurant in a picture that she posted, which is admittedly a little creepy, but Nancy and the captain walk up just in time to prompt Beck to introduce Joe, leading Nancy to invite him to dinner. Beck realizes that Joe just met her not dad, so she's got some explaining to do. She reveals to Joe that she found her dad overdosed when she was 12, and while he did survive, he didn't stick around after he relapsed again, so she decided to go on as if he had died. Beck admits that it was wrong to tell Joe that he died, and gives him an out if he thinks that she's a fraud, but he's understanding and apologizes for everything that she did. They meet the parents for dinner, and both sideways when Nancy accuses Beck of investing nothing in the family and treating her father like an ATM. Beck lashes out at Nancy, angry that she got the version of her father who's sober, while Beck was stuck with him when he was at his worst, and he doesn't even remember the few good memories that he made with her. Beck sarcastically congratulates Nancy on the baby and storms out. Joe follows her to a gazebo and encourages her to talk to her dad, or at least write about him. But Beck is not in the mood for somebody she barely even knows to be giving her advice on her family situation, so she tells Joe to leave her alone. Her dad comes to say goodbye and leave her with somebody for the hotel room. Beck admits that it's hard to see him with another family, like she's waiting for him to come back and be himself again. She says that she misses him, and he doesn't say anything, so she brushes it off and reveals that she tells everybody he's dead. She remarks that he was a good sailor, and he offers for her to tell him about it sometime, like over Christmas in Vermont, but Beck remains non-committal. That night at the motel, Beck can't sleep, and she pulls out her laptop to write her short story for class, inspired by her father. When she arrives home the next day, she sends her story out to her classmates and receives validation from Blythe that the story gave her chills. Beck shows up to Joe's apartment, having gotten his address from Ethan, which you're not supposed to do, but she comes on to him and they hook up, so I don't think he's too mad about it. Afterward, Beck apologizes to Joe for being a hostile goose when he was just calling her on her shit, and she admits that he was right, and she's glad to be with somebody who's not fake or lying about who they are. She steps to the bathroom to text her friends about Joe, excited about their redo romp, and Peach is less than thrilled, but she can deal. Beck and Joe start dating, and she stays over, falling into a morning routine of sex, showers, and salty avocado toast. One morning,
What's a
Beck is
webcam?
ready when they
Oh,
overhear
this
Joe's
right here.
neighbors Ron and Claudia fighting through the walls. She asks Joe if he can say something, but he insists that he doesn't really like to get involved in other people's lives. Beck heads to class and then off to a meeting with a student when she gets a call from Joe. He tries to convince her to run off for a romantic weekend, but she argues that she has TA duties, and she shows up late to meet Louise, asking her to say goodbye to Joe for her so she can hang up before they start reviewing her latest pages. Beck compliments and encourages her writing with a small critique of a story that she referenced, and she challenges Louise to read a feminist work from a woman's perspective. Louise accepts, heads to class, and then off to a meeting with a student when she gets a call from Joe. He tries to convince her to run off for a romantic weekend, but she argues that she has TA duties, and she shows up late to meet Louise, asking her to say goodbye to Joe for her so she can hang up before they start reviewing her latest pages. Beck compliments and encourages her writing with a small critique of a story that she referenced, and she challenges Louise to read a feminist work from a woman's perspective. Louise accepts her challenge and thanks Beck for her support, with Beck noting that it sounds like a goodbye speech, leading Louise to share that she's dropping out of school to move home and take care of her sick mother. Beck gifts her a book, writing in an Bronte quote, reminding Louise of her independence and autonomy to pursue her own path. Later that week, Professor Mott calls in Beck to talk about her writing. She acknowledges how hard it must be for Beck to write about her dad, saying that she was sorry to hear about his passing, but she's glad that Beck stuck with it and connects her with an agent to help her score some writing jobs. The next night, Beck has a date night scheduled with Joe, who describes an elaborate Fitzgerald and Zelda-themed date, but the date doesn't come to fruition as Beck gets a call from Annika, who needs her to come over because she's upset and having a meltdown over a video that was posted of some drunk comment that she made years ago. The next morning, Peach meets Beck at the bookstore so she can share the news that her professor is connecting her with a writing agent. Peach regrets the timing because she was going to call her agent friend Roger Stevens to connect him with Beck, knowing that he represents very famous writers. She says that Beck could go ahead and write for magazines, her face deriding it as trash like what Annika does, or she could introduce them if Beck decides that she wants to be a real author. Beck takes her up on her offer, and Peach calls for Joe, insisting that they need to shut down the bookstore to host a party so that Peach can invite Roger. It's short notice, but they pull it off, and Beck arrives, heading straight to the bar for a drink to calm her nerves. She fears that the only writing the agent will be interested in are her essays about her dead dad who isn't dead. She takes a second shot as Joe reassures her that most authors make up their personas. They toast to Fitzgerald and Zelda as Beck takes a third shot and joins Peach to meet Roger before she leads them to chat and exchange numbers. The next day, Beck is hanging out at Joe's apartment while he's gone, and Peach shows up looking for her laptop, convinced that Joe stole it. When he returns, she confronts him and demands to know where her laptop is, asking if it's in some sort of hiding hole where he stashes all of his stolen goods. Beck says that he doesn't know what Peach is talking about, and she questions where he thinks once the party halfway through. Joe contends that he can afford his own laptop, but he believes Peach if hers is missing. He asks if there's any reason that someone might mess with her, which reminds Beck that Peach told her last week she was feeling unsafe in her home. Joe points to her status as a Salinger and wonders if somebody
built it.
on her. Considering the possibility, and since it wouldn't be the first time, Beck suggests calling the police, but Joe asks Peach if she tried to use Find My Computer yet. You know, the first thing you do when your laptop is missing? Beck and Peach check on her phone to see that her laptop is located at her own house. So yeah, maybe we got a little worked up for nothing, Peach. Peach storms out without an apology, and Joe calls out Beck for not coming to his defense. She asks what she was supposed to do considering they're always fighting, but he insists that Peach is next level vindictive, and she's had it out for him since day one. Beck asks why he hangs out with her friends if he hates them so much, and he claims that it's the only way that he would get to see her. But she doesn't have time for this drama as she's already late for her deadline, which triggers Joe to blurt out that he doesn't care. He claims that he heard Peach talking at the party, saying that Beck wasn't ready to be a writer, and knowing that Roger isn't going to sign her because he thinks MFAs are a waste of time. Beck calls Joe an asshole, telling him to just admit it if he doesn't believe in her, instead of coming up with some ridiculous story because he's jealous of Roger. She remarks that the last thing she expected from Joe was for him to be unsupportive as she leaves to meet up with Roger as he rides downtown for lunch. The meeting quickly reveals itself to be another Leahy situation as Roger puts his hand on Beck's knee, clearly not interested in her writing and admitting that he only skimmed it. She pulls away and he tries again and propositions her, forcing Beck to shove him away and call for the driver to pull over. Beck sends Peach an SOS to meet her and confronts her over setting her up with the creep who never wanted to sign her, thinking the whole thing was meant to humiliate her. Peach asks what happened, and Beck explains that he never read her work and just wanted to get high and bang her in the limo. Peach claims that she didn't know he was using again, but Beck doesn't give a shit and yells at Peach for sending her there and throwing her under the bus. She cites Joe overhearing Peach at the party and says that he was right when he said that Peach lives to cut down her friends, revealing that she knows Peach was behind the Annika video. And now she's sabotaging Beck because she'd rather pick apart her friends than admit that she's not being her best self.
Yeah, no time for warranty.
It's exhausting to be Peach's friend, and Peach contends that she was just trying to do Beck a favor, but Beck gives
Okay. Let's see. Get support. Activate the warranty. We are sincere and responsible for every customer who buys our products and every product we receive. Fill out information within 12 hours. If you have additional questions, please contact customer support and your name. Okay, required. Which email should I use? Screw it. Batman. Add required. What's add? Amazon order ID? Amazon order ID. I think it's add. Captcha. I have no idea what this means. Okay, bam. But yeah, guys, here it is. And honestly, yo, looks pretty cool, and I think it's gonna get the job done. Woo! Did it! Now let's see. Oh shoot! Oh no! Wow. Okay, that's cool. Okay. So I also got one for this too. That's pretty cool. If I want to switch my webcam over to this, nice. Okay. What's this strap for though? What is this strap for? Okay. Where is it? Where's the instructions to this? Oh, here it is. Okay, let's see. So then what you do that. One button only opens the phone holder on the one press to lock the phone holder. Use a hold, 360 rotation, flexible. Quick lock knob. Okay. 1/4 cold shoe. Nice. Okay, yeah, looks pretty good. Well, time to end this bad boy. See ya.